Hello, hello, and welcome to my second book review that I'm doing way ahead of schedule. Uh, it's still Christmas time, as you can see from my stocking and lights hanging in the background. So, still a Merry Christmas to you, as the time I'm filming this. But this is about the book Jurassic Park. Not the movie, the book. And I have a long history with Jurassic Park. I didn't read the book first, I saw the movie as a kid. If you want to know my ranking before you ask anything about the books or anything, my ranking of the movies is first movie, Fallen Kingdom, Jurassic World, Lost World, and Part 3. We'll see about Dominion. You're probably asking, wait, you're going to put, the Fallen Kingdom? I know a lot of people hate Fallen Kingdom, but let me explain. Jurassic Park came out when I was a very young kid, and I could watch it on TV or home movie, and I could watch it with no issue. Maybe because I was so young. Then came The Lost World. I specifically remember The Lost World. When it came out, we went to a drive-in theater. There was a place where you can do a drive-in theater. We had our big blue van. My brother and my dad, they sat out on the lawn on a blanket. I sat in the car with my mother. And I didn't really watch the movie that much because it freaked the heck out of me. The copies, that whole scene was freaky to me. The raptors were terrifying to me. Everything in the movie, unlike the first one, was terrifying to me. So I did not have a good experience with The Lost World. It kind of soured me on movies. To this day, I still can't watch Lost World without getting, So, part 3, I just, same thing. I just couldn't really look at it like being heebie-jeebies all over. But part 3 is just a bad movie in general. But the process of what happened to why it's such a bad movie is actually a very interesting thing. If you want to know about Jurassic Park, go look at Klayton. He's the guy you want to know about Jurassic Park. He'll talk about Jurassic Park all day long. His channel is devoted to Jurassic Park, everything. Now, there's a couple others that do Jurassic Park stuff too, but he's the one that I know. I found him through the Gaming Beaver because they mentioned like how Nedry died in the book, and I was like, well, I know how Nedry died in the book, and I watched the video, and he was narrating the kind of like the scene, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I was curious, and I was like, I'm gonna look into this guy's stuff more, and this whole bunch of Jurassic Park stuff. I'm like, oh wow, stuff I didn't even think of. And he goes extensively of what happened with Part 3, like short story. The movie for Part 3, completely different movie than what was supposed to be, and up until like almost about the when they started making it, then they threw out the script for some reason, like a couple of weeks beforehand, which I don't know why. I'm not sure anyone knows why. But they threw it out, and then they had all this stuff. I was like, well, we got to make a movie with something. That's short story version of it. So, but he can explain more extensively what happened with Jurassic Park 3. Jurassic World is predominantly fine with me, except the raptor scene. I get stuff with the raptor scene because the intensity of stuff, I can't handle it. Fallen Kingdom is just, it's so bad, it's good. It's not even bad to me. I just like Fallen Kingdom a lot. I do. Okay, now then. Oh, and the Battle of Big Rock is a good little short. Now then, I'm still trying to get used to this whole thing. Jurassic Park, over here. This came out in 1993, and the movie came out... No, the book came out in 1990, and the movie came out in 1993. I'm looking at my notes wrong. How I first read it, I think it was in high school. It was either high school or middle school. I had a thing of... a book report thing says, read Jurassic Park. I'm like, oh, it's a book. It's a movie I like. I'll read the book. Well, it turns out that was the wrong list. I didn't even need to read it, but I read it anyway. I didn't know that till after the fact. And I love the book. And here's the thing. The book and movie, two separate different things. Besides Klayton Fiordi, there's others that go online about what the difference is between the book and the movie. Two still completely separate things. Not so much like Lost World. Lost World and the movie, I haven't read the book yet for obvious reasons. But from what I know, the Lost World book and Lost World movie are like two different stuff in general. Like not even the same thing. But as far as the movie Jurassic Park and the book, I guess I shouldn't have said they're two completely different things. They're not. They're very similar, but there's a lot of differences. Let me put it that way. Lost World is two completely different things. The first one is, different. Now, this is going to go into spoilers, but the book is 31 years old. because I was born in 91. Oh gosh. Okay, I just aged myself. Why is everything I know age old? Okay. Anyway, moving on. All right. The book, I'm doing this all by memory. I haven't touched the book in a long time. The book is still at home, where, I'm not at home, I'm overseas. But I've read it. How many times have I read the book? I've read it at least 3 times. But I remember it enough because I absorbed it all like a sponge. It starts off completely different. It starts off with, like a random little hospital on one of the islands. And seemingly one of the babies gets eaten in a nursery by the copies. And it goes into, a little girl getting attacked on the beach by a copy. Yeah, kind of like a la beginning of the Lost World movie. Then you have a guy named Gutierrez, who's kind of like the first part of the book. He's, looking into the lizard. They capture the lizard, quote unquote, the dinosaur. They think it's like a mutated basilisk. How do you say it? Basilisk lizard? Basilisk? I don't even know how to say it. But they think it's a basilisk lizard, but it's nothing like they've ever seen. And they're saying, well, maybe the girl's making up something. But the girl's description, because she drew a picture of it, saying even though she's a little girl, she's very attentive and everything, and she drew a picture of it. They actually find it, and it matches, and he's just like, this is not the same basic lizard I've ever known. But then they get into a little bit of Biosyn, which is the rival group to InGen. They talk about kind of, them trying to look into the island, trying to figure out stuff, and I think it's them who try to say it's dinosaurs that Hammond was looking into. Of course, they have a plant on the island, which we know is Nedry. Or it's an anagram for his name being Nerdy. Hammond, several of the differences are the characters in the book. Like, in the movie Jurassic Park, you have Sam Neill. In the book, the way Dr. Grant is described, honestly, you could see Chris Pratt playing the version of Dr. Grant from the book. Because he's got a beard, he's wearing Hawaiian shorts, he's big kind of muscular guy and everything. When you look at Chris Pratt, who's playing Owen in the newer movies, he's like, and you read the book, he's like, what? He fits Alan Grant in the book. Actually, interestingly enough. So I was like, I wonder if they kind of had that in mind when they cast him. Because the newer movies and everything are still taking elements from the books that have not been used. Which is, I don't want to spoil everything. I may eventually. That gets into part 3. But another difference is that Dr. Grant, he's, still in his 40s, he's doing things with all that. He gets met by Gennaro. Gennaro comes to him. And Gennaro is, more of a family guy, and he's a, kind of a bodybuilder lawyer. He's not like the slimy lawyer like in the movie, but he's a bodybuilder lawyer. He sees the potential of the island at the same time, and sometimes he has his worries. But he also, he's checking out Ellie Sadler, because Ellie Sadler is not, him and Grant are not together. Her and Grant are not together. She's actually a student of his. Like, Grant's in his 40s. She's like early 20s, a college kid. But seemingly she has nice legs, because she's, while they're, sitting in the office, Gennaro and Grant, he's looking over there, kind of looking back at Ellie. She's, working on picking these like small bones out, and he's kind of checking her rear end and legs out, because shorts and everything. Another difference, Timmy and Lexi are switched. Lexi is younger in the book and Timmy is older, whereas in the movie, Lexi is older and Timmy is younger. And again, Timmy has the more expertise with the computers, whereas in the movie, Lexi does. Again, complete opposite thing, and Lexi likes baseball in the book. Who was it? Ed Reese? One of the people working for Hammond on the island is Ed Reese, I think. I think they put him in the second movie, and he's the guy that got killed by the 2 T-Rexes in that part, but he's in the first book. Does he survive? Oh gosh, I can't remember if he survives. I think he does. I don't recall now that I think about it. But one of the people that's in the second movie is actually in the first movie. Or first book. Malcolm. Malcolm, I mean, yes, all I can think of is Jeff Goldblum. Because he does fit the part extensively of Ian Malcolm. The only difference between him and Ian Malcolm is that, Ian Malcolm in the book, maybe he's kind of actually going bald. He's, like balding and everything. But the rock star energy and... Shut up, Siri. But the rock star energy and everything that he has compared, is there in the movie. That laugh and everything, it's all there in the book, even more extensively in the book. Like I can just imagine how Hammond picks, Grant and Sadler up and picks up Malcolm in his private jet. I can imagine, Malcolm with his Diet Coke in his hand, just going like, talking all his philosophical stuff right here while just swooshing around his Diet Coke, shaken, not stirred, of course. But I can just picture him just doing that with his Diet Coke, just talking while it's in a class, just speaking all his stuff to Hammond. It's just pretty much Malcolm is spot on, movie and book version, except the hair is basically the same thing. Hammond, though, two different people. In the movie, he's a jolly old man, he's happy and everything. In the book, you just hate him. He only cares about getting the island up. He's not really that friendly of a guy at all. He's pretty bad. Ray Arnold in the movie, played by Samuel L. Jackson, is actually John Arnold in the book, but they changed it to Ray Arnold for the movies because they don't want to cause so much confusion between John Hammond and John Arnold, but they changed to Ray Arnold. Supposedly they did film, according to Klayton Fury, they did film his death scene, but an actual storm, ruined the island before they could film it, so they didn't bother filming it, even though they just had his arm. But supposedly they wanted to film it, but they never got to. So, in the book, he dies the same way. So so the character of John Arnold, or Ray Arnold, from the movie and the book is pretty much the same, and he dies by the raptors, of course, and like say in the book. Nedry is basically the same like in the movie, and compared to the book, when you see the guy in the movie, in the book, you could say, they pretty much spot on how he's casted and everything. Now, the reason why, Nedry, how I got Klayton Fury and everything, how he dies in the book and movie are two different things. In the movie, it's almost comical. In the book, it's much more graphic. Much more graphic. I just had the name of the dinosaur, the one that spits. It doesn't actually spit. In real life, the actual dinosaur doesn't actually spit. Of course, in the book and everything, it does still. But it's actually, 7 feet tall? That dinosaur is actually 7 feet tall. It doesn't have the wings thing as the, shatter side things. I can't remember the freaking name of it. I'm doing this all by memory, and I can't remember the name of the freaking thing. But it doesn't have that in the book. It only has that in the movie. But it's 7 feet tall. It's yellow. It's got spots. It does spit, and it blinds him and everything. But the way it describes him, it cuts him open. He's feeling his own intestines. It kind of lifts him up in the air. It's graphic in the book. Whereas in the movie, it's almost kind of funny. Watch, I remember what the heck of that thing is at the end. So Nedry dies very similarly from movie version to book version. But the book follows the same way. They all come to the island doing the stuff. Muldoon is there. Muldoon survives. He's one that survives. Gennaro survives. He survives as well. And Gennaro fights a raptor. Yeah, he actually fights a raptor. That's another difference. Compared to the movie and book, there's far more animals on the island in the book than the movies. Like in the book, there's 2 T-Rexes, a larger one and a smaller one, and they can swim. They go in the river with Grant and the kids. They're on a raft, and one of the T-Rexes kind of get in there, and they kind of flip their raft over. You kind of see that in, movie 3? But that's something that happens. There's also a thing with, on my note thing, it reminded me of the aviary. I don't really remember the aviary section part of the book. Except, I don't really remember that portion that much. See, what's his name? The doctor that you see at the Triceratops, Harding. He has a bigger part in the book. He's he's a veterinarian, but he's the only one on the island that's has any type of medical experience. So at the end, when Malcolm is kind of dying, he's trying to treat him and everything. But that's another difference in the book. Malcolm dies. Malcolm dies in the book, but in the movie version, of course, he lives. And because Spielberg wanted to make a sequel, and Crichton's okay. They brought back Malcolm, and that excuse in the book, I think, was, from what I understand, is that, he was a veterinarian, so he doesn't exactly have the best view of, there's other things in a human to check and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. But in the book, Malcolm dies. There's someone else who died. Oh yeah, B.D. Wong. B.D. Wong from the Cinema Sins thing of Fallen Kingdom. Oh, what's his name? Character's name? Isn't it just Dr. Wong? I don't remember the name of the character, but his character has a bigger portion in the book, like a huge bigger portion. He's the one that actually is able to make the code and everything. And the idea that the dinosaurs are breeding, he's like, that's not possible. We made the thing with the lysine and make sure they're all female and everything like that. But Malcolm points out, well, no, your system is only checking for the amount of dinosaurs for the number you're putting in. Put the number higher. And so they put the number higher, and there's more. And they go to a certain number, and it's actually a lot more than what it was. And of course, he's trying to figure out in the codes and the system, like, how was it possible that anything happened to his, to make him be able to breed. But then he kind of, at the end of his code searching, he's like, you know what? I actually succeeded. He becomes egotistical almost in a sense, like, because he succeeded. He actually made, even though it wasn't what he intended or anything, but the fact that the animals are actually able to adapt and change, and because of the frog DNA being able to turn one thing to another, because in a single sex environment, certain frogs, this African frog will change in order to help maintain like a certain, be able to reproduce. The dinosaurs having that DNA will be able to do that. He's like, you know what? I succeeded in making dinosaurs. So he kind of becomes happy, like, you know what? I succeeded in making, a living species that can survive. And of course, he gets killed by the raptors. Like, he exits outside and a raptor above him, like, picks him up and goes from there. Again, there's more raptors in the book than the 3 that are in the movie. Far more raptors. In fact, they find a whole like underground tunnel system with raptors all over the place, with dinosaur eggs and everything else. Oh, I should speak that. One big difference between the movie and book, it's become like a common thing now that immediately when you think of a T-Rex, you say, don't move. They can't see you if you don't move. And we've almost accepted that as fact about a T-Rex or dinosaurs. A T-Rex, from a dinosaur perspective, was a great hunter. It had to be able to see. So it was looking around and it could see what its hunting was not based on vision, on movement. It wasn't based on that at all. I could see you whether you're moving or not. But in the book, it had trouble seeing because they think it was a blind spot due to the DNA defect from the frogs issue. Not that was an actual issue, because Grant knew that it wasn't an issue, because even the raptors had that issue of not being able to see him when he wasn't moving. And they were looking around, like in the scene when he's in the raptor egg chamber, the egg chamber, like in the movie, he's in the egg chamber and the raptor's not. It's like it sees him, but it can't see him. It's like the raptor's like, I knew something was there, but so it's like it's stuff's based on movement. So that's just a defect from the DNA, not because, animals can't see because it's movement, whatever. So that's another big difference comparably from book to movie. There's a bunch of other different things and stuff like that. One biggest difference, Hammond dies. He falls down a hill because he gets scared by a T-Rex sound because the kids are messing with the computer, and he gets eaten by the copies. Of course, they know this from the movies, but they changed it so that they can keep them going on for sequels. But that's a lot of different changes and everything. What would I rate the book? I would rate the book a 9 out of 10. You say, well, you could basically spouse about this book. You seemingly love the book. Why would you only give it a 9 out of 10? And there's one big reason why. It's a glaring issue with the book that it's just something that's very just out of nowhere stands off with me. It's like, why is this a thing? There's a portion where the raptors were trying to tear into the the building where the big building and everything. They're trying to tear into that building, but they get pushed off by the electricity being turned back on and everything like that. Hammond, he said, starts going on to this environmentalist, ecological kind of portion. He's like, it's a good thing we don't want these monsters trying to get out and destroying the earth and everything like that. And it's just kind of like, when did Hammond become an environmentalist? All of a sudden? Just, what, huh? It's literally out of nowhere. It's a short section of the book, but it's out of nowhere that Hammond would just become like just all of a sudden for this brief moment turns into like an environmentalist or is spouting environmentalist stuff, and it's just kind of like out of nowhere. And it's very not in his character. What I feel is just, was this originally written for somebody else? Because it feels like it's written for somebody else. And honestly, I think it should have gone to somebody else, like a worker there or something, as opposed to Hammond. Because I know it's the point for Malcolm saying, "What you think you're so egotistical." For Malcolm to say to Hammond, "You think you're so egotistical that you think you could destroy the Earth?" But it's just kind of like, it just sets me off. I'm like, why is Hammond saying stuff like this when he wasn't like this at all the entire book? That's the one glaring issue. Is just like, what? Like, seriously, they should make a mini-series of the Jurassic Park book, of Michael Crichton's Jurassic Park. You can make a mini-series of it, because it's vastly different in so many ways. You could, like, when they first arrive at the island, it's not, they drive out to see the brontosaurus. As soon as they get to the island, there's brontosauruses, like, right when they arrive. I mean, that's a big glaring difference. That'd be a great little thing to see. That could be the end of the first episode. They arrive at the island, there you see the brontosauruses. So, and you could literally add a couple characters, like that character who says the environmentalist stuff, that could be a new character, because it doesn't fit Hammond. I don't know why all of a sudden it switched to Hammond. Maybe someone who knows Jurassic Park better than I do can explain why Hammond says that stuff when he wasn't like that throughout the entire time. But, I don't know, that's just me and that's my view. All right. Well, that's all for this video, and I hope to see you next time when I talk about something else that I know very well, or something else I've read. And thank you for watching, and what do you think about the book? Do you enjoy the book? Do you not enjoy the book? Have you read the sequel? What do you think about the sequel? And what do you think about the movies? Do you have a favorite? And what issues do you find with the movies compared to the book? All right, well, anyway, see you later.